the Youth Connect Africa Summit will be a 4-day summit under the overarching theme, Youth Innovating Borderless Africa Renaissance. The event will take place on 8th to 12th December 2023 in Nairobi at the Kenyatta International Conference Center. The event is organized by the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy, Sports and its agency, the National Youth Council, in the cross collaboration with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the Youth Connect Africa Hub. The main goal of the summit is to maintain a Pan-African platform with the aim of connecting African youth for socio-economic transformation in line with the bottom-up transformation agenda, better. The summit will create a platform for young people to connect, share ideas, collaborate on projects that will have a positive impact on their community and the continent. Honorable Speaker, it will be noted that the date of the Youth Connect Africa Summit coincides with the historic 2023 Jamhuri Day celebration, marking 60 years of independence. This is a deliberate and intentional coincidence designed to display Kenya's 60th independence anniversary as symbolic ignition of Africa liberation from colonial borders that restrict free movement of people and goods and services. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I urge government ministries and agencies to actively participate in the Kenya Innovation Week 2023 and the 6th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit, as the event will provide an parallel opportunity to contribute to the advancement of innovation, economic growth, and societal well-being. Honorable Speaker, I wish to invite honorable members to attend the two events. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kilifi South, Honorable Ken Chonga. You have a statement?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to request for a statement regarding illegal eviction and demolition of half land and place property on plot number 151/3/Mainland North. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order number 44, subsection 2, subsection C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding illegal eviction and unauthorized demolition of property for residents of half land and place on plot number 151/3/Mainland North in Mitihani ward of Kilifi South constituency. Honorable Speaker, on the 27th of October 2023, around 12 a.m., a contingent of police officers in 2 Land Cruiser pickups under the command of the Kilifi South constituency DCIO, armed with guns, batons, and a bulldozer, descended on half land and place and started demolitions on plot number 151/3/Mainland North as the residents were asleep. Honorable Speaker, disturbingly, the incident is escalated into violence, resulting in the unexplained arrest of 2 individuals who still have no clear indication of when they will be presented in court. The lack of a court-sanctioned order and the absence of any prior notification to the residents compound the gravity of this situation. Additionally, no official statement has been issued by the police department explaining the reasons for this eviction. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. 1, why the Sub-County Director of Criminal Investigation, Mr. Leonard Kurgat, conducted an eviction and demolition on the residents of Half London plot without a court order. 2, the reasons for the arrest of the 2 individuals during the eviction, along with information on why they have not been presented to court. 3, why the police have not issued a statement to explain the reasons for the eviction and demolition. And 4, what steps are being taken to ensure that the residents of plot number 151 are compensated both for the demolitions and psychological trauma they experienced during the distressing incident. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairperson for the Interior Committee. It will be so marked to that committee. Next statement by the Honorable Member for Lari, Honorable Mburu Kahangara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, and I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee, Social Protection, regarding the administration and management of National Social Security Fund. Honorable Speaker, Section 20 of the National Social Security Fund Act 2013 provides mandatory contributions into the fund at 6% term for the employer and 6% term contribution deducted from the employee's earnings. The implementation of the said act commenced in February 2023 following the conclusion of a court dispute. Honorable Speaker, it is estimated that the fund has grown by about 63.8% by the end of June 2023. The informal sector also makes its contribution to the fund through the Haba Haba program. However, over the years, the fund has been characterized by inefficiencies occasioned by claims of financial mismanagement, alleged corruption, inordinate delay in processing of pensions, leadership wrangles, and lack of public trust and confidence. This has led to concern among Kenyans on the risk of financial mismanagement. Honorable Speaker, the said act further provides for a full opt-out at the Tier 2 level of the contributions for employees contribute to pension schemes approved and registered by the Retired Benefits Authority. However, there have been concerns on the risk of financial mismanagement for contributions above the lower earnings limits. Additionally, there have been allegations that the funds have previously been invested in unviable fixed assets, including apartments, which may lead to loss of contributions of innocent Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Social Protection on the following. 1. Could the Chairperson provide information to the House on the measures put in place by the Board of Trustees of the said fund to ensure effective management of the funds? 2. What mechanism has the Board of Trustees put in place to ensure public participation and involvement of stakeholders in the decision-making process? 3. What administrative structures has the Board of Trustees put in place to guarantee no conflict of interest in the management of the same fund? And number 4, what is the current financial statement and economic viability of funds investments in fixed assets, including buildings and land? And thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable, I think next is, that will go to the relevant departmental committee. I think the Honorable Majority Leader, you're next, but allow me to dispense with 2 oral statements, one by Honorable Irene Mayaka and another by the Honorable Member for Chebalungu. So Honorable Irene Mayaka, you want to quickly? So I'll dispense with those, then come to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would just like to ask the Chair for Finance, because last week I had raised a question in regards to the fees being charged to travelers who are coming into the country by KRA. And the reason why I raised this in particular is because when KRA did a statement in regards to the fees they're charging, they actually said that they have started to charge this as they make regulations for the same. And my worry, Honorable Speaker, is because the JKIA airport has turned into a disastrous place. We are having long queues there, we are having people being charged, and they're doing all this without proper regulation. So I'd just like to hear from the Chair of Finance what the response is from KRA, as this is a matter that is not only urgent, but it is also a matter of concern to the entire public. I thank you.
Honorable Kimani Kuria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would really like to thank CPA Mayaka for raising this matter and seeking this statement. We are well versed on the matter. We've held a meeting with Kenya Revenue Authority. Unfortunately, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury was out of the country this whole week, but he came back, I think, yesterday. So we have scheduled a meeting with him on Tuesday morning. So I want to assure this House that on Tuesday afternoon, will have a response on this particular matter. But having said that, without preempting debate, we have had a conversation with the Kenya Revenue Authority, and we agreed the amount of money they were collecting per month was 8 million shillings. For the last few months, they have only been able to collect 51 million shillings. And we actually had a current conversation and said, although this is a law, the East African Community Customs Management Act of 2004 that they are implementing, the multiplier effect of them trying to implement that is more disastrous, because we'll find people now choosing other destinations other than Kenya. And secondly, even the value of $500, so many things have happened in inflation over the years, so the number of 500, the figure of 500 is too little. And as Honorable Speaker, even how you ascertain whether these particular goods are worth $500 is also quite subjective. I was a victim also a few months ago when I came back with an iPhone, and we had quite a conversation with them. And one of the things I was asking, fine, I agree this phone might be worth more than that, but why are you picking my phone? I have suits that are more than that. I have brought home some perfumes and some clothes for my kids, and they are actually more expensive than that. So why are you specifically picking on the phone? And also on the how, the way they will scan the bag, and then they will say, there's an iPhone there, it's as if you're carrying a contraband good. So we've had a conversation. Things are improving from the remarks that you've had from the public. So the treatment is more humane, the explanation is there, and that expedition, like fishing exercise, like Madam Speaker, you alluded to earlier, has gone down. But I'll give a comprehensive statement on the same next week on Tuesday, and I really want to thank CPA Mayaka for bringing this to attention.
Honorable Mayaka, I hope you're satisfied.
Honorable Speaker, that is quite in order. Tuesday is not too far. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Thika.
Honorable Speaker, allow me just to add more information to Chair for Finance and let him know also. I hear at the airport what is happening is that all those officers who are working there, they are given targets. That's why they are harassing people, because if you don't meet your target, you lose your job. So them, when they are harassing members of the public, they are doing that to meet their targets, and that's why they are even going out of their way to harass everybody. You better check onto it, Honorable Chair, because those people, they are being told if they don't meet their target, they will be fired. So to them, what they do best, because they need their job, is to harass Kenyans, and that one must stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my eyesight is failing me. I can't see, but I can't see the face. Oh, Mburu Kahangara.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just sought a statement from the chairperson on the Department Committee on Social Protection. And I was just wondering, because the chair is around, if we could get timelines on how soon they will be able to issue the statement. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Which committee?
Social Protection.
She's right next to you.
Yes, she could tell the House so that we put it on her side.
Chairperson? You have to respond now at a later date.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think if he can give us 14 days, I'll be back with the report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think there was a point of order by Honorable Gusia Sema.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm rising on this petition, which was presented by Ken Choga, Member of Parliament of Kilifi North. I'm very much interested, Madam Speaker. Kilifi South, sorry. I have not heard your directions regarding this petition, or now we are going to add to it, because it was not done procedurally. So, Madam Speaker, I want your ruling on the same.
I think I pronounced that will be marked to the relevant committee.
Okay.
Yes, at the time. Thank you. What was your point of order, Honorable Milema?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I got concerned that the honorable members were casualizing the House, because somebody stands on a point of order and seeks a statement. There's a procedure of seeking statements in this House. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that so that we don't casualize the rules. Thank you.
I think I ruled on that, and that's why I asked Honorable Irene Mayaka and the member for Chebalungu to wait until order number 7. And it's now that we are on order number 7 that I've given an opportunity for them to raise an oral statement before we go to the final statement, which is by the leader of majority. And I think Honorable Irene Mayaka has responded to. So I think the Honorable member for Chebalungu, are you still interested in making your statement briefly?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Once again, I would like to bring to their attention that today, 23rd of November 2023, the KCPE results were released. And upon release of the same results, the CS advised Kenyans that they will get their results via a code 40054. Being a parent...
Honorable member, have you checked just now? Because I think you've been overtaken by events. Maybe other members who have checked it.
But
maybe the member for the chairperson of the Education Committee. I think you can confirm.
Let me do it, Madam Speaker, because...
So that you don't belabor the point.
No, Madam Speaker, let me finish my point, kindly. Yes, Madam Speaker, it's okay. It may have worked now. But initially, I tried myself like 10 times. Each of these SMS is costing 25 Kenya shillings. Personally, I lost 250 shillings. How about the other parents from Kenya who tried the same severally? That is my point. I am rising to seek a statement as to what happened to this particular code that we were promised by the CS that it was going to work immediately. That is my point, Madam Speaker.
The chairperson for education, I think, will take it up, but you can respond to it briefly.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to agree with the honorable member and members of the public that a few hours ago, the Cabinet Secretary released exams and gave the members of the public an SMS code. However, after around 30 minutes, the code and the SMS collapsed. Yes, let me just say this. What's out of?
Kindly let him finish his sentence so that you can now have a substantive point of order. But he's not done yet. You can't respond to an incomplete response.
Chair, thank you, Chair. I just want to, I'm just not the Cabinet Secretary, but I'm just trying to tell members so that as current as now, that particular SMS code is working. But I want to agree with you and agree with the honorable member who is asking that this particular code has actually costed Kenyans some money, yet the message has not come through. But Madam Speaker, I just want to say that when I asked the CEO, Kenya National Examination Council, he actually took the blame to Safaricom. But I told him actually the best thing is for him to give us a statement on the same issue, and he agreed that he's going to bring a statement on that particular issue next week. Thank you.
So, member for Chebalungu, the statement will come next week from the minister, because even if we belabor the point now, nobody has a straight answer. Yes, whose hand is up there next to Irene Mayaka? You have a point of order?
Yeah, I want to add my voice to that. Thank you, Madam Speaker, because we are living in the 21st century. I don't know what happens in such scenarios where it appears Kenyans have lost their monies. Is there any form of reimbursement that is going to happen? And also we are asking what amount of that 25 shillings is taxation so that we can address this issue from a point of information. Or was it a scam, or is it the government or the ministry trying to rob Kenyans through these schemes? Thank you.
Like has been said, there will be a substantive response on that matter and address to those issues by the CS next week, including, and Kenyans will be at liberty to seek a refund, maybe. Let's wait for it. Let's proceed. Honorable members, Honorable Bowen, you are simply just, because it doesn't matter how much we speculate here, we are talking to ourselves because there's no one to respond to it. Yeah, so it's a futile exercise. So let us proceed. The Honorable Leader for Majority, you have your weekly statement.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, I know Honorable Boen Kangogo. I know his son was sitting KCPE and he has done extremely well. And congratulations to the young Kangogo for the exemplary performance in his KCPE. That is why you see the Honorable Kangogo is very keen to contribute on that. But just for the record, Honorable Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to congratulate Angela Wamoyo Kimani, who was also sitting for her KCPE, and she's done exceptionally well, Honorable Speaker. And I can confirm that the system is working. I actually just checked my daughter's results while I was still seated here. It's true there was a problem with Safaricom earlier, but it has since been rectified, and that system is working. Honorable Speaker, if I can now go to the usual Thursday statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2A, I rise to give this statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Thursday, 21st November 2023, to prioritize the business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, I continue to commend members and committees for the active participation which has seen the conclusion of several key items of business in the House this past week, including the supplementary budget. I encourage members not to tire as we head to the end of this session, Honorable Speaker, and ensure they attend sittings of the House and committees as they expedite any urgent business to enable its conclusion by the House before the recess period. Honorable Speaker, with regards to business scheduled for Tuesday next week, the House is expected to consider the following bills at various stages, some of which are listed in today's order paper. 1, Committee of the Whole House on the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill 2023. 2, the National Government Constituency Development Fund Amendment Bill 2023. And C, the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023. Honorable Speaker, kindly protect me from the Honorable Sunguya, who is behaving like he's selling cattle at Kiserian Market. He's conversing in Kimasai right behind me. Honorable Speaker is
Order, Honorable Sunguya.
No, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Kangogo and Honorable Sunguya are being a very bad example to younger members. Because they have been here long enough, and these speakers pick up everything that they will converse in vernacular behind the person who is speaking. It's only fair when someone is up on his feet speaking that those around them, one, desist from conversing in vernacular, because Kenyans do not understand your vernaculars. 2, except those from your village, of course. And now, Honorable Speaker, Kangogo is from one region of the country. The other one is another pastor, is from another part of the country, Honorable Speaker. You can guess the kind of conversation that was there about cattle and... Honorable Speaker, if I can move on, 2 is a second reading. And I was saying that, Honorable Speaker, so that we also get the attention of members on the Committee of the Whole House on the National Government Constituency Development Fund Amendment Bill of 2023. And I can see the Honorable Kwenya Thuku has noted, I know what interest he has in that bill. So those who had an issue with that bill, it is scheduled for Committee of the Whole next week. 2, Honorable Speaker, is the second reading of the National Lottery Bill of 2023, the Gambling Control Bill of 2023, the National Disaster Risk Management Bill of 2023, and the second reading of the Land Laws Amendment Bill of 2023. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, debate will also be undertaken on the following motions, some of which are listed in the order paper today, should they not be concluded in the course of the sitting this afternoon. 1, report on the loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023. 2, report of the Kenya delegation to the 4th General Assembly of the Eastern Africa Parliamentary Alliance on Food Security and Nutrition, EAPA-FSN, held in Kigali, Rwanda. 3, reports of the Auditor General on 23 non-compliant state corporations. 4, report on the proceedings of the second ordinary session of the 6th Pan-African Parliament. 5, report on the proceedings of the 2023 United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. And 6, report on enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms. Honorable Speaker, with regards to the attendance of Cabinet Secretaries to answer questions from members, I wish to inform the House that due to priority business scheduled for next week, the Cabinet Secretaries that were scheduled to appear on Wednesday, 29th, November 2023, have been rescheduled to a later date. Honorable Speaker, this is to allow us to conclude on the very important government bills that are scheduled for the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday sittings next week. Honorable Speaker, finally, with regards to the attendance of, Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, the House Business Committee shall reconvene on Tuesday, 28th November 2023 to schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Are you done with all your statement? Nothing else? Okay. Right, let's move to the next order.
Order number 8, motion. Consideration of Senate amendments to the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023.
Chairperson for the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Didi Nyoro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move the report on the amendments by the Senate on the County Government Additional Allocations Bill 2023, that is National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023. Honorable Speaker, around June, we came to this House and we moved this bill, Honorable Speaker, and then, as should be, it proceeded to the Senate. And Honorable Speaker, what happens in the process of this kind of a bill, if the Senate amends even a comma on the bill, it should then therefore come back to this House for concurrence. And from the onset, Honorable Speaker, it is important that I put this across as I start, that even as I move, the Budget and Appropriations Committee...
Honorable Chair, just move it as is, and then you can proceed to justify.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
I know you always do it the other way around.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for the guidance. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate amendments to the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, be now considered.
Asante, now you can proceed to justify.
Honorable Speaker, in June of this year, we came before this House as the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and this House actually passed the County Government Additional Allocation Bill then. And the way it should be is that once we consider and pass such kind of a bill, and it proceeds to the Senate, then the Senate should consider, and if there is any amendment on this kind of bill, then the bill should come back to this House, and if there is concurrence, then we proceed. But if we reject, then we go to the mediation. And from the onset, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the Budget and Appropriations Committee met for the last 2 weeks, and we considered the report from the Senate. And Honorable Speaker, I stand here because the Budget and Appropriations Committee actually rejected the amended version from the Senate. And Honorable Speaker, I want to make it very clear that, and I am repeating just for guidance of this House, that we actually rejected the amended version from the Senate. Honorable Speaker, the additional allocations that we make to the counties are usually conditional and non-conditional allocations. And Honorable Speaker, one of the premises that the Budget and Appropriations Committee actually rejected the amended version from the Senate is specifically number 1 on the library services budget, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there are some 33 counties that have previously been considered with conditional grants to the county governments, Honorable Speaker, specifically to take care of the library services, and also insofar as the salaries of the officers in running of those library services is concerned. And Honorable Speaker, what happened is that there has been a case that had been sponsored by our governors for the last few years in regards to what constitutes equitable share. And in that regard, Honorable Speaker, some of these conditional and non-conditional grants were exempted by the courts to be considered under equitable share. Now, what happened is that this House previously passed the non-amended version, Honorable Speaker, that then included that monies for library services. And Honorable Speaker, what happened is that when it proceeded to the Senate, then these monies were actually, previously we had allocated equally, Honorable Speaker, because any monies that again goes to the equitable share, then it is subjected to the formula that is made by the CRA. That is the Commission on Revenue Allocation. And Honorable Speaker, then what happened is that when this bill proceeded to the Senate, then the Senate amended that bill by adding 428 billion Kenya shillings, actually 424 billion Kenya shillings, monies then they are considering as conditional grants to the library services. So what literally we are doing is to actually double allocate monies for the library services, because this House actually had allocated that money, then it was divided equally, because once it goes to the equitable share, according to the judgment of the courts, is that these kind of monies then are subjected to the formula. But then, Honorable Speaker, upon proceeding to the Senate, then these monies, again, the Senate proposed to add an equivalent amount. The ramification of this, Honorable Speaker, is that the way we had divided before, using the equitable share, is that out of the 33 counties, actually 11 out of those were getting additional monies that they ought to have gotten. And 22 are losing, some of which are losing marginally. Then 14 counties are benefiting from this kitty inadvertently, because they are not part of the 33 counties that were previously designed to earn money from this kitty or from these conditional grants. Honorable Speaker, the other area that made us reject the amended version from the Senate is that there are some conditional grants that county governments get from the national government. Now, what the Senate were proposing is that these monies given by the national government should not pass through MDAs, but the county government should get these monies directly. Some of these, Honorable Speaker, is the monies that the national government actually advances to 5 county governments for building of county headquarters for counties that never had existing structures before, and especially in the headquarters. Honorable Speaker, what the Senate are proposing is that in this kind of conditional grants, then the counties should receive monies directly, and therefore we exempt the role of MDAs in terms of oversighting these conditional grants. Honorable Speaker, we want to revert back to what this House passed, and that is why we recommended for the rejection of the amended version of the bill, Honorable Speaker, because number one, we have already appropriated monies for this financial year. And then, when the Senate then returns the bill for us to fund extra monies to a tune of 424 million, Honorable Speaker, this money is not provisioned in the budget, and therefore will be contravening the same appropriations bill that you already passed in this House and that which the Treasury is currently implementing. Honorable Speaker, as I come to the conclusion, I also want to laud our governors, because this is not an issue around governance, and especially county governments. Our governors have continued to do their bit and to work very hard. I also want to laud the Senate, because disagreement does not necessarily mean that there is anything between both houses. It is just a consideration in principle. Our Senate has been doing a great job in terms of supporting devolution. And Honorable Speaker, for this proceed to mediation, it does not mean that there is any house that is looking down on any. We are all equal members of Parliament, and we respect the Senate and the great role they are playing in terms of advancing devolution in Kenya. And this is just a matter of principle that we have appropriated these monies. The monies that are being, the Senate is seeking to introduce is not in the appropriations bill as it is now, and therefore it will be in vain that we actually adopt a report that is suggesting extra resources that are not available. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I wish and I hope that once we proceed to the mediation, we will be able to iron out these small issues so that counties can then receive the monies due to them. Honorable Speaker, I also want to laud this administration led by our President, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. And I'm saying this because, Honorable Speaker, we are doing something unprecedented, that our counties are now receiving monies, and especially equitable share, in time. Honorable Speaker, by the close of the last financial year, we actually crossed over this financial year with no arrears owed to our county governments. And therefore, this is very, very important, because we are actually not just devolving functions. We are also making sure that our esteemed governors are able to discharge their duties without the handicap of illiquidity. Honorable Speaker, also this goes a long way into reducing some of the unnecessary expenses, and especially that which are around interest rates, when, for example, county governments take overdrafts from commercial banks to pay some of the monies that has no luxury to wait, for example, salaries. Honorable Speaker, by advancing monies to our county governments in time, we are reducing on those kind of expenditure, and therefore it is something that is laudable. Honorable Speaker, again, just to repeat, the fact that this House is rejecting the proposed version from the Senate, this is just part of our job, and it is in no way, Honorable Speaker, trying to undo the work of the Senate. And I'm repeating, just because these houses have been working very harmoniously, we are just rejecting in principle, because there is actually no monies to add, because the appropriations bill is already passed by this House, and therefore we cannot then come back and then pass a bill that is proposing more monies that are not available. I have just repeated that 3 times to buttress the fact that this is just part of our work. We can reject, then we go to mediation, and then we are able to get a way out. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the members of the Budget Committee, the members of this House, our technical team in the Parliamentary Budget Office, led by, of course, Millicent, who is here, with Kyoko, and all the other members who have taken part in coming up with this report. And with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to request the Vice Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Mary Emase, to second.
Give Honorable Emase the mic. Oh, there she is.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to second the bill, the motion. And from the onset, I want to say that the county government additional allocation bill is normally a very straightforward bill that is just meant to provide for additional allocations to the county government, either from national government's share as conditional grant for devolved functions, or unconditional allocations, like in this case, to provide county governments with additional funds collected from court fines, collected from mineral royalties, and also conditional allocation from loans and grants from our partners. As already been explained by the chair, I want to say that even as we prepare to get into mediation, I know that those who will find themselves in that stream should prosecute this matter with the urgency that it deserves so that county governments can get money. But, Madam Speaker, even as we discuss disbursement of additional funds to the counties, I was looking at the report on poverty index, and I was saddened by how some of our counties are doing very badly. Busia is being ranked the third last at the bottom in terms of development. And I'm foreseeing a situation in the future, in another decade or two, where we're going to have a replica of developed world and the underdeveloped and the least developed. So as we appropriate and devolve monies to the county government, I want to implore the governors to use the money for the purposes intended for. If it's a conditionally allocation, it should be appropriated and used for the purpose for which it was intended for. So, Madam Speaker, I second this motion, and I want to leave there and give opportunity for most of the members to contribute. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Senate amendments to the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, be now considered. Okay, I see the mood of the House that I put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question that the Senate amendments to the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, be now considered. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Of the proceed. Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable, order members. You may resume your seats. Members, during this stage, we'll allow a few comments at this stage. So I would request members to resume their seats. Members who may want to say something or two on this, resume your seats. We'll allow Thank you. Members, we are now in the committee of the whole, and as usual, members, you know how it works. So let's proceed.
Senate amendment to clause 4.
Clause 4, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Just wait, just give a minute. I propose the question. Order, members. I propose the question that the Senate amendments to clause 4 of the County Government Additional Allocations Bill be now approved. Chair of Budget Committee.
Honorable Chair, allow me, because I do not want to belabor the point and repeat myself again and again on every clause, you allow me just to make a brief statement. As I said before, the county government additional allocation bill emanates from here. Then we take again to the Senate. And if the Senate amends any of the clauses of the bill, then it comes back here. Once it comes back here, this House may go with the side, may go on the side of the Senate proposal, or we reject. But, Honorable Speaker, upon the perusal of the amendments as the Budget and Appropriations Committee, we made a decision to reject. And we rejected not because there is supremacy between this House and the other. It is purely on principle. Number one of the issues in consideration was the library services. The library services, there was money for 124 million, which had been appropriated for 33 counties. But then these monies were put at the equitable share because it's a devolved function. Then what happens is that when this bill went to Senate, then Senate is proposing, on top of the 424 million we had already appropriated, that we had a similar amount, then now to go to the 33 counties. Honorable Speaker, this House has already passed the appropriations bill. So the monies that we are drawing for any MDA or county government is actually coming from the express authority from the appropriations bill. And therefore, there is actually no money to give in terms of addition. The second issue that we actually rejected is that, and this is the last one, Honorable Speaker, is that Senate is proposing that the conditional grants that we give to county governments, that they receive this money directly. So what usually happens, for example, the monies to build headquarters for 5 counties, is that there is supervisory role from the public works. So if we then set these monies direct, we are taking away the role of supervising from the relevant MDA. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, on all the 6 clauses, so that I don't repeat myself, we are actually against all the amendments, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we are actually voting nay, we are rejecting.
Thank you. The Chair of Finance Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. You know, without overemphasizing that this committee of the whole, ideally we could have dealt with the issue before, but that's water under the bridge. So the import of the voting of these particular clauses is that if we accept the clauses as recommended by the Senate, that means you'll be allocating the money, will be agreeing with the recommendations by the Senate. The problem with that is we already passed the appropriations bill. Now it's an appropriations act. So in terms of a double entry debit credit way, then you are allocating additional funds to something, but you have not provided for that money. So in essence, even if we were to agree with these recommendations by the Senate, they would be irregular and illegal, because unless, again, we do an amendment to the Appropriations Act so that we would provide this money that they are providing for additional allocation for this particular service, for this particular votes as described by the Chair of Budget. So essentially now is if this House, I beg that we agree that we reject these amendments by the Senate and therefore vote no to all those clauses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now I must allow this side. I'll give the Honorable Tuku.
Thank you, Chair. Whereas I agree with the Chair Budget in his language, he's very polite in terms of the fact that Senate is attempting to appropriate money which is not within their purview. The role of appropriating is that the purview is under the purview of the National Assembly, and indeed, once appropriation bill is passed, then that's it. The only other thing, the only thing that Senate can do, maybe reallocating, redistributing, but in terms of appropriating, that is the business of the National Assembly.
Thank you. The Honorable Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, 2 issues. The first one, Honorable Chair, I want to thank my chairman for what he's saying. I think if we had moved the House to that direction, we should actually have killed this bill at motion number 8 by voting no, so that we will not have no need for 9. But now that we are past that, Honorable Chair, because we voted yes, it means we have now to go clause by clause. What we need to do, Honorable Chair, is, because we can't do just all clauses, we say no. Just take us through the motion very quickly, clause by clause. No, 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 no. We clear this and we go to the next level.
Thank you. The Honorable Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, inatamausha sana chairman, wakati spika ameshazungumza akapitisha jambo kisha linaenda kujadiliwa kando liweze kuwa reversed. Hawa governors wamepata matatizo mengi sana na sisi tumeshuhudiwa, Mheshimiwa Chairman. Tukiangalia hata mafuriko, gavana wetu ametukanwa sana kwa kukosa pesa. Na sisi tunasema hizi pesa ambazo wameomba kule, Chairman wa budget, kwa hisani yako, vile imepita hapa ni Mungu ametaka zipite, county zipate pesa. Wapeni magavana pesa waweze kufanya kazi, tujenge taifa pamoja. Na hili limeshapita chair, ni kazi ya Mungu, wale watu wa chini waweze kusaidika. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Chairman.
Members, we have 4 clauses. Let me put a question on this one, then you can speak on the next clause. So I now therefore put the question, I put the question that the Senate amendments to clause 4 of the county government additional elections bill be now approved. As many other opinion say aye. As many other opinion say nay. Of course the nays have it.
Senate amendment to clause 5.
I now propose the question the Honorable, thank you so much, thank you. Thank you. The Honorable Wanjala, you obviously know, you've been in this house for donkey years. You now know, the rules, Honorable Wanjala. Yes, and you obviously don't have the numbers, so may you resume your seats. I now propose the question that the Senate amendments to clause 5 of the county government additional locations bill be now approved.
Put the question.
I now put the question that clause 5 of the county government additional allocations bill, bill number 23 of 2023, be now approved. As many other opinions say aye. As many other opinions say nay. The nays have it. The Honorable Wanjala, what's out of order? Give it to him. Yes, Honorable Wanjala, you have the mic.
Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that I was raising a point and you disregarded me, and whatever I was raising about has passed.
You are now regarded.
But Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering that the people on the other side who are the shareholders, they seem not to be knowing what they are doing. They are being spoon-fed by the chairman of finance committee by crossing his funds, which is wrong. They are supposed to vote on their own. They are supposed to think, you shareholders.
Honorable Wanjala, you can do the same to your side.
Senate amendment to clause 8.
I now propose the question that the Senate amendments to clause 8 of the county government additional elections bill of 2023 of number 23 of 2023 be now approved. The member for Nyando. You have the mic. Go ahead.
Not functional.
Use the next one.
Use this one.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, firstly, we must acknowledge that we are in a bit of a quandary. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, Honorable Speaker, there is nothing unconstitutional that our Senate colleagues have done. They have expressed themselves on this most fundamental issue, and that matter has been brought to us. Under the spirit of complementarity, we wouldn't wish to create friction between the two houses. Yes. And that is why the drafters of this constitution saw it wise to come up with a mediation so that there is a middle ground where both warring factions can meet. Honorable Speaker, what is being demonstrated on the floor of this House this afternoon is to undermine our very good ladies, our very good gentlemen who make laws in the other House, in the Senate, Honorable Speaker. It is an absurdity, so to speak, that we have to be shepherded, we have to be shown which direction to take, whereas when we came to this House, Honorable Speaker, we have our own conscience. We have our own intellect. We have our own know-how. And no one should dictate to us how to vote a particular way or not, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I think that because we would want to maintain the friendship, the brotherhood and sisterhood that exists between the two houses, let us employ a high degree of decorum even as we go through this bill, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you,
but
thank you.
I think, Honorable Speaker, that without being coerced by anybody from across the aisle,
thank you,
we must accept all the proposals as they came from the Senate. Because, Honorable Speaker, finally, our governors...
Allow him to finish. Give him his time.
Please give me time. Give me time to speak. Honorable Chair, what the country is experiencing now on the matter of flooding is a shame to this country. And there are one part
Honorable Member for Nyando.
Kindly give me time to prosecute my matter.
I have.
Kindly. The country is going through a very difficult situation with flooding. We have lost more than 80 lives.
Thank you.
80 people have since died as a result of flooding.
Thank you.
The monies are domiciled here in Nairobi.
Thank you. The member for Nyando, I think we are the committee of the whole. Give him 30 seconds.
Only one moment.
Let's be relevant. Be relevant on this matter.
Honorable Speaker, whereas monies are sitting pretty here in Nairobi, our governors have nothing, no recourse, no money to handle the flooding menace that has claimed more than 80 lives, Honorable Speaker.
Just a minute.
I want to believe
that sense
is going to prevail in this House, and money will be given to the governors.
Just to ask, the member for Nyando, is there any money for floods on this bill? The Chair of Budget Committee.
Honorable Chair, and I highly regard the two members who have spoken, Honorable Zamzam and my friend, Honorable Okello, but there is no point of sensationalizing this matter. Because, Honorable Speaker, the question before us is very simple. We are not fighting within a house. This House, the National Assembly and the Senate, we work very well and very smoothly. The issue before us is one. We took the national government additional allocation bill to the Senate. Let me go sequentially.
No, you don't have so much time.
There is monies already allocated.
Chairman, you don't have so much time.
Yes. Then, the point I'm trying to make, the additional resources as proposed by the amendment from the Senate, number one, is not money for floods. And there is no flexibility on how to use the money. The money is purely for library services. Then those monies we are already provided for. Then as we go through the amendments from the Senate, Honorable Speaker, we can only appropriate money that is already in the Appropriations Act. These monies are not there. And therefore, even if we were to pass, then it is in futility. And lastly, how do we go to mediation? We have already rejected the first amendment. Consequently, we are already mediating, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In fact, the point I wanted to make in regard to what the member for Nyando was saying has already been made by the Chair, Budget and Appropriations, because there is nothing untold that we are doing in rejecting all these amendments, because the next natural course of action is to go into mediation. And good relations between the two houses is to mediate and agree on a common position. And therefore, Honorable Chair, I just want to urge members to join the Chair of Budget in rejecting not just this amendment, but even the following two amendments.
Thank you. The member for the Honorable Kahangara, and this will be the last, the next people will speak in the next. No, let's hear from Member Kahangara.
Right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to add my voice on the same and say that while some members may be trying to whip emotions in terms of the relationship between the Senate and the National Assembly, I think it has been made very clear that the money to be appropriated is normally appropriated by the National Assembly. And the additional money that the Senate is talking about is nowhere to be found. And Mr. Speaker, let me remind this House that back in 2015, Senate did a similar thing where they added county governments 3 billion shillings, and accounting standards is debit credit. That the moment you add money, you must tell us where to get the money from, which they have not done in this particular case.
Thank you.
And what we did then was actually to take the money that we had appropriated to the Senate, first of all, to be able to cover the deficit that they had created. So, Mr. Speaker, I think I'll join the chair in rejecting the proposals or the amendments for that matter, so that it can be able to go to mediation. Thank you.
And I will put the question that the Senate amendments to Clause 8 of the County Government Additional Allocations Bill 23 of 2023 be now approved. As one of that opinion say aye. As one of that opinion say nay. The nays have it.
Schedules. Senate amendment to the first schedule.
I propose the question that the Senate amendment to the first schedule be now approved. I put the question that the Senate amendment to the first schedule be now approved. As one of the opinion say aye. As one of the opinion say nay. The nays have it.
Senate amendment to the third schedule.
I now put the question, I propose the question that the Senate amendment to the third schedule be now approved. I put the question that the Senate amendments to the third schedule of the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, Bill 23 of 2023, be now approved. As one of the opinion say aye. As one of the opinion say nay. The nays have it.
Senate amendment to Clause 2.
I propose the question that the Senate amendment to Clause 2 of the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, Bill number 23 of 2023, be now approved. I put the question that the Senate amendments to Clause 2 of the County Additional Allocations Bill 23 of 2023 be now approved. As another opinion say aye. As another opinion say nay. The nays have it.
Senate amendment to Clause 1.
I propose the question that Senate amendments to Clause 1 of the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, Bill 23 of 2023, be now approved. I put the question that the Senate amendments relating to Clause 1 of the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, Bill 23 of 2023, be now approved. As another opinion say aye. As another opinion say nay. The nays have it. Honourable members, that marks the end of the Committee of the All on the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, Bill 23 of 2023. We now move for reporting. Mover, the chair. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Senate amendments to the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, and its approval thereof.
With amendments.
With amendments.
Okay. Thank you. Members, I now put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Senate amendments to the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, National Bill number 23 of 2023, with amendments. As many of that opinion say aye. As many of that opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Huh?
Order, members, you may resume your seats. Order, members. Order, resume your seats. Honorable Kaluma, please. Yes. Resume your seats, honorable members. Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker. This is fine. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Senate Amendments Bill to the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Honorable Speaker, I also wish to request the Honorable Member for Gilgil, the Honorable Mother Wagari, to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Martha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Is it the mood of the House that I put the question? Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, I will now put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, before I call out the next order, may I inform the House that the effect of what you've done is that that bill is now committed to mediation. And indeed, the substantive speaker will be naming the mediation committee to deal with the matter. Also, let me inform the House that this is the ordinary and normal business of the House. And it gives a chance for the senators and the members of this House who will be nominated to that particular committee to have a session, mediate, and agree on a way forward, which will then be adopted by both Houses. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023.
Leader? Order. Chair, Debt Committee. Are you moving? Yes. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that.
Order, Leader, you may approach the clerks. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 28 September 2023. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the members of Parliament from the Public Debt and Privatization Committee for their steadfast resolve to consider the loans report submitted to Parliament and table this comprehensive report for consideration by the House. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Section 31(1) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, the National Treasury and Economic Planning submitted to the National Assembly 3 reports on new loans contracted by the national government for the following periods. 1. 1st May 2022 to 31st August 2022. 2. 1st September to 31st of December 2022. 3. 1st January 2023 to 30th of April 2023. Honorable Speaker, as per the reports, a total of 19 externally financed loans totaling to Kenya shillings 213 billion were signed between the national government and international creditors in various currencies between May 2022 and April 2023. Honorable Speaker, by the time these reports were tabled before the National Assembly, only 3 of the 19 loans were partially disbursed, thus indicating an estimated disbursement rate of only 11%. The partially disbursed loans were primarily commercial loans totaling Kenya shillings 24.2 billion. Honorable Speaker, due to the low disbursement rate, 89% of the loan resources remained under the accounts of the creditors, despite being signed for. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore noted that there is need to increase the rate of disbursement of the loans acquired if the budgeted expenditures to be financed in full and projects are to be completed on time. This will also be beneficial in addressing the ongoing liquidity and foreign exchange imbalances arising from high debt servicing expenditure, stimulate the economic development, and eventually promote public debt sustainability. Honorable Speaker, an intentional policy initiative should target increasing the rate of disbursement of concessional loans from bilateral and multilateral lenders due to their low cost and grace periods. Concessional loans have lower repayment pressures and thus allow borrowing to be undertaken with a reasonable impact on debt sustainability indicators. Additionally, disbursement of concessional loans is critical for projects with low repaying capacity, e.g. social and climate change projects, but contribute to economic development. Honorable Speaker, while the submission of loans report to Parliament is a good step, there is need to enhance transparency and accountability on loans acquired by the national government. As such, the submission of full and complete information is critical in ensuring full oversight of any public debt-related activities. Honorable Speaker, during the review of the report, it was noted that information pertaining to loan balances brought forward, carried down, amortizations, and borrowings undertaken by national government entities were among key pieces of information left out of the reports. This made it hard to determine the overall impact of the loans acquired on the overall debt stock. Honorable Speaker, there is need to go beyond the parameters set for oversight and apply innovation in order to achieve effective and efficient use of resources for the country. This can be done through the submission of project-specific information when the reports are submitted to Parliament. Honorable Speaker, there are benefits to this end. First and foremost, this will enable the National Assembly to review the quality of projects financed by loans contracted and therefore firm up the repayment capacity of the country, streamline the project assessment and the appraisal process. Secondly, this will guarantee the efficient utilization of resources, maximize the benefits accruable from the selected projects before the commencement of the loan repayment. Honorable Speaker, this will promote confidence in national government processes and public debt regulatory institutions, which may ultimately contribute to the reduction of borrowing costs by our international development partners. Honorable Speaker, after consultative engagements, the committee makes several recommendations for consideration by the House. To mention but a few, the committee recommends: 1, subsequent reports to be submitted by the National Treasury should ensure full compliance with Section 31(1) and 3 of the PFM Act 2012, and in particular, the National Treasury should ensure that the reports indicate all loans made to the national government entities, county governments, as well as loan balances brought forward, carried down, drawings, and amortizations on new loans. 2, quarterly reporting on program loans should be guided by program-based budgeting principles, and the respective project evaluation, appraisal, assessment reports should be attached. 3, in order to facilitate oversight of debt and to promote transparency and accountability of loans contracts entered into, the National Treasury should attach the contract signed against its submitted report, should not enter into any contract that does not adhere to the principles of public finance as set under Article 201 of the Constitution. 4, the National Treasury should address factors that affect timely and full disbursement of loan financing, and submit a report to the National Assembly within 60 days of the adoption of this report, indicating actions taken to increase the efficient disbursement of loan financing. And 5, within 90 days, the National Treasury should fully digitize the loan approval and monitoring system to enhance reporting, transparency, and accountability. This should also include training of technical personnel and the establishment of a system that is accessible to other public finance management institutions, such as CBK, the Office of the Controller of Budget, and the Office of the Auditor General. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the committee also noted that reforms relating to public debt management have lagged behind, even as strides have been made in other areas of public finance management, such as the enhancement of procedures for revenue collection and expenditure determinations. As such, the committee is dedicated to addressing the gaps that are prevalent in the legal framework relating to reporting, transparency, and accountability in loan acquisition, and the efficient use of the same, and will continuously present policy recommendations for consideration by this House. Honorable Speaker, I therefore beg to move and request Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, MP, the Vice Chair of the committee, to second. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Dr. Makali.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me first of all thank my chairman for that very good moving of the motion, and say that the matter we are discussing, Honorable Speaker, is a very important matter in this country. As we are all aware, public debt has actually become the elephant in the room. Every Kenyan is talking about it. Every government official is talking about it. And that's why this report becomes very important. And I really would want to urge my colleagues, the honorable members, to take very seriously the recommendations of this report, because it provides a roadmap as we move to the future. Honorable Speaker, even if the world go, you have heard my chair say that we have signed about 11 loans for the period we are discussing, and only 3 have been dispersed, Honorable Speaker. Meaning, Honorable Speaker, that the normal challenge we have been discussing as a House, the challenge of paying commitment fee for loans which are not dispersed, will continue being with us. How I wish, Honorable Speaker, that this House would make a resolution so that after this report is adopted by the House, we are able to summon all the MDAs who have borrowed money from different countries and they are not being used, because Treasury would normally sign for the loans, but in terms of implementation, Honorable Speaker, it is the MDAs who are expected to implement. Honorable Speaker, you'll be surprised to learn that some MDAs have even taken more than 10 years to withdraw loans which have been signed for. Honorable Speaker, I really want to urge colleagues to support us so that such MDAs are summoned immediately after this report is adopted by the committee, so that they are able to explain to this House why are they not drawing the money and what reasons are making them not draw the money. And if the reasons are not really clear enough to the House, Honorable Speaker, that such loans can be cancelled. The other issue which is important, Honorable Speaker, is as a House, we all passed the MDS, the medium-term debt strategy, is approved by this House. And Honorable Speaker, we are saying, despite the fact that we approved this document, we have realized is like there is a gap where at times we are approving this document, but we don't have a very specific list in terms of what is going to be funded. As we move to the future, Honorable Speaker, my recommendation would be, as a House, by the time Treasury is submitting the medium-term debt strategy, they also submit a specific list of projects and programs that will be funded within that year, so that as a House, we know what is going to be funded, and then we can oversight effectively. The other matter which is important, Honorable Speaker, is the matter of counterpart funding. Most of these loans, when they have been signed, the government is expected to fund part of the loan through what we call counterpart funding, Honorable Speaker. And we have realized that there are loans where the government would sign, and the issue of counterpart funding is not factored into our annual budget process. So I think it is very important, Honorable Speaker, if we get a listing of all these projects which are going to be funded through loans, then we can make sure that as a committee also, such a projects are also, we ensure that there is counterpart funding for those specific projects, so that we don't have loans which have been signed, Honorable Speaker, and then, Honorable Speaker, we don't have the counterpart funding, meaning we can even not withdraw the funds. The other matter, Honorable Speaker, which is important, I think from our interaction with some of these MDS and Treasury, it's emerging that, Honorable Speaker, I think the technical capacity of our people to negotiate for loans effectively is being put into doubt. And I think it is important, Honorable Speaker, that we also make provision as a House that our technical capacity for those who negotiate for these loans, we build that capacity to a level that the country gets value for the loans. Because, Honorable Speaker, if people who are negotiating for these loans don't have the right capacity, then that's why you see the gaps we are experiencing as a country. Honorable Speaker, this matter of the central bank overdraft, which we also picked, Honorable Speaker, where the law allows that Treasury can borrow up to a maximum 5% of the national revenue as an overdraft from the central bank. And any normal overdraft, Honorable Speaker, the way it operates, even your own personal overdraft, is that any time you get money, you reduce it to zero, then from there you start building again, up to a specific time, it's supposed to go to zero. So on annual basis, as we cross from one financial year to another, the expectation, Honorable Speaker, should be that the National Treasury or the government crosses the year, the financial year, with zero in terms of overdraft facility. But historically, we have realized that every year, they are crossing the year with about 80% of overdraft, which means, Honorable Speaker, they have a very small space, borrowing space in terms of what is remaining, because if, for example, now we are at 80 billion, and they are borrowed about 72 billion by the close of the year, and they don't really clear that to go to zero, it means the following year they will have only about 8 billion to borrow. And this makes the issue of cash management, cash flow management, very complicated, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, this report is bringing out very important issues, which as a House we need to agree with and support this important committee so that we get value for these loans. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, this is what I want to say, Honorable Speaker. The issue of loans, and more so domestic loans and the external loans, we realize that now over time, the government is reverting so much to domestic borrowing. Honorable Speaker, domestic borrowing is good, it's easier to accomplish. But I want to tell the Kenyans that with domestic borrowing, Honorable Speaker, the challenge is the interest rates. Currently, our interest rates are about 15%, Honorable Speaker, while concessional loans would get them to a tune of 2.5% or 3%. So there is very important that we get a delicate balance, Honorable Speaker, in terms of these borrowing ratios, so that we don't overburden Kenyans by having, and when you borrow domestically also, Honorable Speaker, there's also the matter of crowding out the private sector, because the government starts competing with the private sector, the small-scale industries, the individuals, And it is obvious that if you compete the government in terms of borrowing, the government will always get that first priority in terms of lending. So it is important, Honorable Speaker, we get that ratio right so that we allow our small-scale industries and factories and individuals to borrow from our local banks, and then the government can try to borrow from externally from other countries. In that case, then we'll be helping this country, Honorable Speaker, and the matter of public debt still remains a very contentious matter, is a very critical matter in this country, and as a House, anything which will help us push this agenda forward, Speaker, and more so, reducing public debt is very important. Honorable Speaker, we all do observe the supplementary budget we have just passed. We have moved the budget deficit from 4.4% to 5.3%, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. So long as we are increasing our budget deficit, we'll have no choice but to continue borrowing. It is time we went for fiscal consolidation and more so reducing the budget deficit to the expected rates, which are normally around 3%. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second. Thank you.
Honorable members, order. Order. You need to listen to this so that you may make decisions that are accurate. Honorable members, I propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 and April 2023, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 28th September 2023. Who takes the first bite? Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I rise to support this committee's report, the Committee on Public Debt, and particularly, Honorable Speaker, thank the Chair, Honorable Shuria, and his very able Vice Chair, the Honorable Makali Mulu, who, Honorable Chair, when I last passed by Kitui City, I heard is a prospective governor in the county of Kitui. And I would tell the people of Kitui, they would never have a better governor if that time ever came than the Honorable Makali Mulu. And he has done very well, not just as the Vice Chair to Honorable Shuria, together with Honorable Shuria in this debt committee, but also in our Budget and Appropriations Committee. And let me take this opportunity to thank them, together with all the other members of the Public Debt Committee, including the very agile and able member for Kinangop, the Honorable Kwenya Thuku, who has been a very active member of this committee and making sure that indeed they do their work in oversighting our public debt position in the country and making sure that they put the National Treasury on its toes and ensuring that the National Treasury, as they have put in this report, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury is not only submitting all the reports that they ought to submit to the House, but also doing so in a timely manner. And Honorable Speaker, I have noted many of the observations and recommendations that the committee have made in their report, and particularly, Honorable Speaker, those that relate to the reports under Section 31, 1, and 3 of the PFM Act of 2012. And Honorable Speaker, these reports are indeed very critical, not just to the workings of the House and the Debt Committee, but also the Budget and Appropriations Committee, as well as the Finance Committee, because these reports will help to inform the House, and particularly these committees as they interact with the country's finances, the level of indebtedness of the country, and be able to measure whether in the subsequent financial year, the country will be able to enter into more debt, into higher or lower levels of debt than it were in a particular year that the National Treasury should be reporting. Honorable Speaker, it is important, as the committee has noted in its recommendations, that these reports are brought to the House on a quarterly basis. Honorable Speaker, there is a reason why the drafters of the PFM Act of 2012 require that these reports are submitted on a quarterly basis, Honorable Speaker, because, as I mentioned, Honorable Speaker, the timely submission and consumption of reports by the House will help to inform ourselves and the country where we are in terms of our debt level, so that we don't find ourselves in a position where we continue getting into debt problems without knowledge because we don't have timely and accurate information at the right time. Honorable Speaker, I must re-emphasize, as the committee has emphasized in its report, that the National Treasury, upon adoption of this report, must ensure that all these reports are submitted from the first to the fourth quarter of every year in line with the fiscal or calendar year of our financial year from July 1st to the end of June, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also particularly noted a recommendation by the committee that says that upon adoption of this report, the National Treasury should prioritize the sourcing and disbursement of concessionary finance. And this concession of finance, Honorable Speaker, contains what they have noted, a grant element, implying that larger borrowing can be sourced within minimum impacts, with minimum impact on debt sustainability by reducing the refinancing and interest rate risk. Honorable Speaker, I note this particular recommendation because as it is today, we have had a problem, Honorable Speaker, and in the supplementary budget one that we passed last week, Honorable Speaker, and whose appropriations bill you passed on Tuesday, members will remember us noting that within that supplementary estimates bill, a figure of about 143 to 145 billion is on account of the financing risk that comes with exchange rate fluctuations, Honorable Speaker, within this calendar year or this financial year, Honorable Speaker. And it's therefore important that the National Treasury seeks to pursue loans that are more concessional in nature so that we enjoy those lower interest rates and we also don't expose ourselves to the financing risks and interest rate risk that we have previously exposed ourselves to. Honorable Speaker, these reports, Honorable Speaker, will also help not only to inform the country, the House, but the country also. I had occasion this morning, Honorable Speaker, to interact with a young Kenyan, a trader in Nyamakima, who told me that she was keenly listening to one of the local FM stations. And I have no fear in mentioning the station because it's Kameme FM, Honorable Speaker. And this Kameme FM, a presenter who I actually know hails from my constituency and is illiterate, because he's a class 8 dropout, who has no understanding of anything finance. And the presenter was misinforming the country and listeners on Kameme FM that this country has borrowed to the tune of 4.5 trillion in this financial year, Honorable Speaker. And a young trader in Nyamakima had the logic to decipher that if our budget is in the region of 3-point-something trillion, there is no way the country would have borrowed 4.5 trillion within a period of 1 year. Honorable Speaker, that is why the National Treasury must ensure that these reports are brought to the House and to the Public Debt Committee on a timely basis, because the moment these reports come to the House, they help to inform Kenyans on the right debt position of the country, so that we avoid situations where illiterate radio presenters, like those ones in Kamehameha FM, are misinforming Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, you would understand why a presenter, based on the ownership of Kameme FM, why a presenter would be intent on deliberately misinforming the country on the level of debt and the level of indebtedness that this current administration has gotten into, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, factual and accurate information in accounting and in economics is critical in decision making. And even this House will not be able to make decisions. Even the National Treasury will not be able to make credible decisions without factual, accurate, and timely reporting and information at the right time, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee, if you look at their recommendation 8.8 also says that the National Treasury should address factors that affect timely and full disbursement of loan financing and submit a report to the National Assembly within 60 days of the adoption of this report, indicating actions taken to increase the efficient disbursement of loan financing. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity again to commend the Public Debt Committee. And it tells you that the members of this Public Debt Committee, Honorable Speaker, you can see them. Unlike other committees where their reports are debated and members are not there, the chair is here, the vice chair is here, and I must commend them again for their able leadership. Honorable Speaker, yourself, presiding this session, you are this debt committee. The Honorable Dawood is a member of this committee. The Honorable Kwenya Dhuku is a member of the committee. Honorable Speaker, it is good that we are debating. I saw the Honorable Makilapa, I think he has stepped out also, who is also a member of this committee. And I am saying, yes, and Honorable Abraham Kirwa. It tells you that these members of this committee have been diligent in their work, and I must commend them. Because unlike many other committees, Honorable Speaker, where reports are tabled, the chair tables the report, has no seconder. You saw the chair has moved, the vice chair was there, and at least not less than half of the membership of the committee are in the House to debate their report. It tells you the diligence, Honorable Speaker. And I speak to this particular recommendation on 8.8, Honorable Speaker, on the slow disbursement of loan financing, because as a former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and the Honorable Dindi Nyoro, if he had also been patient after doing his business to sit in the House and also be able to consume part of these things, because they affect our budgeting process. And the Honorable Makali Mulu will bear me witness. At the time I chaired the Budget Committee, one of the key issues that we would always raise was the slow disbursement of loan financing. And in fact, our loan books carry such huge amounts of loans that are not being disbursed on a timely basis. Some, the government of Kenya also has not given the counterpart funding, and the amounts remain in the loan books, not being able to implement projects, Honorable Speaker, because of the counterpart funding. And Honorable Speaker, I will really want to ask the Honorable Shuria and his committee to ensure that indeed within the 60 days that you have recommended upon adoption of this report, that the National Treasury informs the House what are the handicaps that makes them not be able to absorb debt financing, some of which, Honorable Speaker, at times come with penalties when you do not consume this money on a timely basis, Honorable Speaker. Two, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans who borrowed this money or who the government borrowed this money on their behalf are not able to enjoy the services and the goods that have been provided through that timely disbursement of this money, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I'll be very keen in the course of early next year, and in fact, the 60 days, if we're able to adopt this report within this session, will fall around the time that we resume from the long recess, and just in time before the annual estimates for the next financial year. And I want to encourage the Public Debt Committee to ensure that even as we scrutinize the budget estimates for next year, and even as you start working on the BPS, that you have this report so that you are able to interrogate even the figures that you come to before you for the next financial year with information as to what are the handicaps that ensure, or rather that slow down the full disbursement of our loan financing. Honorable Speaker, let me conclude, Honorable Speaker, by correcting the misnomer, not that just being perpetuated by illiterate radio presenters at Kamehameha FM, but what is also used in political funerals and political gatherings on the level of our indebtedness. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, only this Monday or Tuesday, on Tuesday actually, on Monday, Honorable Speaker, I hear there's a point of order, and I truly hope that the person asking the point of order can indicate leader on what standing order they are raising.
Honorable member, relax. I've heard you. What's your point of order?
Which standing order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a journalist by profession. I went to school. You can differ on opinions, but not to be called an illiterate, Mr. Speaker. All of us have different ways in which we air our opinions, but for our party leader, sorry, majority.
We don't have party leader here.
I stood because I did the best at Eges FM. That is why they believed in me, the community.
So what's your point?
And made me the woman rep. You should withdraw that name of illiterate, please. No one is an illiterate. Even our old women in the village didn't go to school, but at least they told us this is wrong and this is right. Girls, keep yourself safe to get a right man. Say no even if it means yes, but don't allow yourself to be used. So let him withdraw that statement, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know the Honorable Doris Donya, I didn't know she's a journalist, and she knows I have tremendous respect for journalists. But I meant that that particular radio presenter is financially illiterate, and is a fact of life. I know him, he's from my village. And when I tell you he's financially illiterate, trust me and believe me that he's financially illiterate. Honorable Speaker, if I go back to what I was saying, because there is that misnomer on the level of our indebtedness, but also, Honorable Speaker, to commend the National Treasury and the current administration, Honorable Speaker. Because when His Excellency the President said that this administration would do responsible borrowing, Honorable Speaker, he meant business. And when he told us last year during the campaigns that he was a man on a mission, many people took it for granted. But William Ruto is indeed a man on a mission, and he has proved he's a man on a mission to transform Kenya and make sure that our country's economy gets back to its feet. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity also to commend the World Bank that at the management level, Honorable Speaker, has now confirmed, Honorable Speaker, that they will be granting us about $12 billion over the next 3 years, Honorable Speaker. And that, Honorable Speaker, is besides the almost $1 billion that we're also getting from IMF, Honorable Speaker. And this is the concessional financing that the debt committee is talking about, Honorable Speaker, so that we're able to retire most of our expensive commercial debt into this concessional financing and be able to reestablish a stable economy that will work for the majority of Kenyans. And I want to believe, Honorable Speaker, with the kind of leadership that we see under the Kenya Kwanza administration and the able leadership of the Public Debt Committee by the Honorable Shurie, deputized by the Honorable Makali Mulu, they will be able to ensure that our public debt levels are properly managed and within levels that are sustainable for our country, and that debt that will also go towards financing actual projects. And I must commend the committee because, again, and Honorable Makali Mulu, we remember when we served with him in the Budget and Appropriation Committee, we always insisted in all our reports that all our debt must be traceable to specific projects. And I see the Public Debt Committee now being a standalone committee dealing with public debt. You should now be able to ensure that the National Treasury is able to specifically drill down each of the debts that we borrow in this country to particular projects and ensure that they are projects that have a return to the people of Kenya and projects that will be able eventually to be able to pay back the debt that we incur as a nation. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to support this report and ask members to support as I congratulate all the members of the Public Debt Committee. This indeed, Honorable Speaker, have proven that unlike many other committees of this House, that these are very diligent legislators who know what their work in committee is, and not just churning out reports, but also being there in the House to debate their reports and support their chair and vice chair. And I want to ask all our chairs to emulate the chair of the Public Debt Committee and the vice chair and the membership of the Public Debt Committee. With that, I beg to support.
Very well. Leader, I'm a very serious member of the Debt Committee. Next to speak on this is Honorable Thuku Kwenya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to support our own report on loans contracted between the year 22 to 23, April, that is, Chair, Speaker, and I must say that I want to join other speakers who have spoken prior to me in acknowledging the amount of work that our committee is putting into matters debt. In fact, Mr. Speaker, to some extent, I think, or it's my suggestion, or it's my opinion, that we should have a public debt authority that will be tasked with looking into the issues of debt, because debt is becoming an issue, and a big one for that matter in this country and countries that are within the region, I mean within Africa, for the simple reason that our budgets are just about a fifth or a fourth of our public debt combined, Mr. Speaker. You realize at the moment our debt is at about 10.5 trillion. Our budget for this fiscal year, financial year, is about 3.5 trillion or thereabout. So you can see our budget is, we oversight budget more than we are doing oversight on our debt. And I think it's about time that this House, in its wisdom, considers to see how best we can deal with this issue and be in a position to oversight every penny that is borrowed, so that the people of Kenya can get value for the monies that they are paying out in terms of principals and interest and fees, in terms of commitment fees, and to see value as to where the monies are going. And I want to thank our committee, because in our recommendation, it has been well captured that MDAs and SAGAs, state agencies and government-owned enterprises, will now be in a position to report to the House as to what they have, where they have put the money, and this committee, the Assembly, National Assembly, will be able to see through where the monies have been put. Mr. Speaker, of concern, and I think the reason as to why we did this report, looking forward to a situation whereby the government has borrowed, or the National Treasury has borrowed up to 213 billion for that 1 year, and only 11% of that monies have been absorbed or been disbursed. Then it means if this is going to be the trend, we could take over 10 years, if you look at this exponentially, we could take a whole 10 years to absorb 213 billion. And I think this should concern us. Today we are moiling and toiling and having an issue with exchange rate. We have an issue with the interest rate. We have an issue with commitment fees, because once you borrow, you have a grace period. There's a window as to how long you should take before you take up the money or start paying off the monies. And the grace period is expiring even before we start consuming or absorbing the monies that we've borrowed. And I think that should concern us, because I believe that the hole that we are into today in terms of debt is self-inflicting. Today, as we speak, about 1.1 trillion has not been absorbed, monies that have been borrowed over the years, and projects that were envisaged to be implemented via those loans have not been completed, or they have not even kicked off. Why is it that the National Treasury is borrowing happy? Why is it that we are borrowing money and yet we do not have a plan as to how, or in terms of procurement, why is it that we're taking so long to procure, so that then all these monies that we borrow for specific projects take off, Mr. Speaker? I think this report will bring to life the role of Parliament in terms of oversight, because we cannot just be oversighting budget implementation of our own revenue, which is so little as compared to the amount of monies that we've borrowed over time. And I think, Mr. Speaker, there is a recommendation that is in this report by the Controller of Budget as to the effect that state-owned agencies that borrow money, or that Treasury borrow money on behalf, they should be made to pay back if they are generating monies or incomes. Because you realize that there are corporations like Kenya Power Lighting Company, KenGen, they generate their own income, yet they are guaranteed by the national government. The national government takes upon itself to pay for such loans, yet the state-owned agencies are generating their own income. Mr. Speaker, it is about time that this House pronounce itself, so that then we do not get to an abyss of debt spiraling over and over, because of inaction or because of a lack of oversight. Mr. Speaker, I realized today as we were debating the county government additional allocation of funds, of revenue, so to say, the county government additional allocation. There was monies that were borrowed last financial year, the year 2022. The same money was committed to budget and appropriated through County Government Allocation Act of 2022. But the money never came through. And therefore, we are required as a House again to go back and amend that act so that then we can see whether the same money is going to be absorbed this financial year, 23-24. And I think as the Honorable Leader of Majority has stated, non-absorption of loans affects even our budget cycles and what we envisage as a country where we need to be in the next financial year. I have figured out that single loan that was supposed to see second informal settlements improvement projects, that is KCPE, worth 6.6 billion. It was appropriated. There was a county government additional allocation that was passed in 2022, yet the monies were never absorbed. So then Parliament will have to redo its work again. And of course, we know that Parliament does not act in vain. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to belabor into, explaining much that is in this report, but I pray that this House will find it in its wisdom to pass or to adopt the committee's report so that then going forward, we can exercise our constitutionally mandated duty by the Constitution as a House to oversight and to see that there is proper use of all these monies that have been advanced to this country. Mr. Speaker, finally, on the issue of liquidity, you realize that the government at times suffers because you borrow money, but the money remains in the purse of the lender. So that then you can only access that money because at times the clauses in these contracts where we borrow are not Kenya friendly. They are not friendly to the borrower. How comes that I walk into a bank, borrow money, but it is the purview of the bank to tell me how I'm going to spend that money or at what rate I can withdraw. Here I'm expected to be repaying that money while it is not in my pocket, and they're not going to charge interest on the money that I've drawn down. It is on the entire loan. I think it is upon us now as a House to pronounce ourselves, and maybe the National Treasury needs to relook into the kind of contracts that they are signing, so that then once we borrow money, then that money can hit our coffers here. That is going to improve our liquidity. And maybe even the issue of depreciation of Kenya shilling in terms of exchange rate compared to foreign currency, we are going to cure that because we'll have enough in our coffers. Mr. Speaker, I wish to support this report and request that all the members of this House find it in their heart to support this because it's going to be the game changer in terms of how we oversight our loans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Abraham Kirwa, Member of Parliament, Mosob.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to actually support this report of the Committee of Debt and Privatization. I truly want also to commend the committee for the great job that they have done. And sincerely, Mr. Speaker, this committee actually plays a huge role in making sure that the loans that this country undertakes will be actual loans that actually can be dispersed, loans that can actually be accounted for, and loans that can actually go for what exactly was intended to do. I want to support some of the suggestions and recommendations from this committee, because looking at some of the loans that it said that this country undertook a huge loan, but the amount of loans that was truly dispersed was only 11%. You know, during the review of this loan, it was noted that only 3 loans totaling to 24.2 billion, primarily commercial loans, had been partially dispersed, indicating a disbursement rate of only 11%. But the rest of the loans was not disclosed as to whether it was actually dispersed or it was not really dispersed on a timely manner. And as such, the country has committed to have taken these loans. They continue to pay commitment fees which is continuously causing the country to pay a lot of money without really this loan being used within the country. And as such, the recommendation that 8.3, which I want to actually look into it, that says that the committee recommended that in order to facilitate the oversight of debt and to promote transparency and accountability of loan contracts entered into, the National Treasury should attach the contract signed against each submitted report and should not enter into any contract that does not adhere to the principles of public finance as set under the Article 201 of the Constitution. This will help us, Mr. Speaker, because for every contract that is signed, we should be able to review. The Parliament should be able to look into it. Who signed it? When was it intended for? And how is it going to help this country? On recommendation number 8.9, no later than 30 days of the end of each financial year, ministries, state departments, and implementing agencies, the MDAs, responsible for the projects for which the loans have been obtained should submit a report to the National Assembly indicating the measures taken. Mr. Speaker, this period of time, the 30 days, is going to help us so that if there was any monkey games being played, we should be able to catch it at the debt committee, and we should be able to follow it with the appropriate departments as to why the loan has been incurred, and if the loan really was used for what it was supposed to be. On the recommendation number 811, as from financial year 2024-2025, at the end of the sector working group engagement, the National Treasury should submit to the National Assembly a report containing the list of potential projects for which the loan financing will be contracted, the potential creditors and the respective loan terms, so that we understand as to exactly why we are taking these loans and if these loans has actually been used and has been dispersed. And recommendation number 812, Mr. Speaker, arising from 811 above, the final list of the projects to be financed through the borrowing should be submitted to the National Assembly. All this recommendation is coming to the National Assembly so that we become the watchdogs and we become the people who can actually make sure that the money that we are taking as a nation, because our loans right now is standing about 9.6 trillion amount of shillings that we have taken as a country, but most of those are not performing loans. Some of those loans are non-performing, some of them have not been dispersed, and as a country, we are truly going through a lot of, we are paying a lot that we have not really incurred. 3, on committee observation number 7.1, the submitted report lacked project-specific information required to guide policy making and oversight, which indicates low level of transparency and accountability. Most of the loans that was taken does not actually, are not transparent. It doesn't show as to when it was taken, why it was taken, and where it was used. And so this recommendation that the committee says within 30 days of signing the contract, it should be submitted to the Parliament so that they can review and understand. And also committee observation number 7.2, as per the reports, only 3 loans that it said, I've already mentioned that, was dispersed, 11%, but the rest of the almost 89% of the loans and resources, despite being signed for, remain undispersed. So I want to truly support this report of the committee, that we need to look into the loans that we take as a nation and also hold the Treasury accountable and also the department that are actually undertaking the loans, so that this country will be responsible for every loan and all the debts that we take as a nation. So I stand to support this report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. In other jurisdictions, honorable members, any loans taken by government on behalf of the state, like Ghana, are actually sanctioned by Parliament. But I think we are moving properly well. Now, next to speak on this is the Honorable Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very much in order. Next to speak on this is Honorable Catherine Omanyo. Are you ready?
Yes.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really have looked into the budget, and the borrowing is haphazardly done. It's too much. And the rate at which Kenya is borrowing, compared to the rate at which development is happening, there is something amiss. I even do not understand why there is no money to go to county levels to help in disaster management, because right now even governors are in a quagmire, they are stranded, there's no money to handle El Nino. And yet I'm seeing the country has been borrowing over and over. Even right now, I'm sure where the president is, he has gone to borrow again. So we need to cut our cloth according to our size as a nation and not exorbitantly keep borrowing and put our future generations in trouble, because all we are doing today is what our future generations will feel. In fact, it's not even future. We are already feeling it right now. It is better to borrow and actually make sure that we use that money to create new money for us, create new avenues for everybody in our country to get a way of making their own life bearable. But at the moment, when you see how much the government has been borrowing compared to what Kenyans are receiving, it is imbalanced. So we need to hit a pivot at the right place to balance what we are asking compared to what we are doing. Because if we do not have industries and things that will bring or create jobs and create new money in our country, we are going into a brink. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Paul Biego.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And I stand here to support the report from the committee, and kudos to the chairman and his vice and the committee members for actually giving us a very good report. And what has really interested me is the fact that they have factored in, and actually it has been properly taken note in 8.3, that in addition to the PFM Act 2012 provisions, the reports indicated above should also include information related to, and that is what has made me actually rise, that the report on the use of export credit agencies, that the ECA, and respective contingent liability exposure. And that will include contracts signed, expected benefits to the country, and any guarantee offered should be subject to the approval of Parliament. And I believe if that is effected, then we'll really take good care of any liabilities or any loans that are being taken on behalf of the country. And also what I support strongly is the fact that central bank's overdraft facility, the use of overdraft facilities would be factored in, and probably there would be no misuse of such kind of funds. And of course, also the quarterly reporting on the projects would be able to know and would be able to be well guided. So, Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to support strongly the report from the committee. Thank you.
The Honorable Dawood.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to add my voice in support of this very important report by the Public Debt Committee. Mr. Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to thank not only the members of the committee led by the chair, Honorable Sharia, but the able secretariat from the Parliamentary Budget Office led by the clerk, Wanachacha. Mr. Speaker, sir, the basis of us getting these reports is Section 31.1 of the PFM Act. I want to read it for my colleagues. Section 31.1 says, the Cabinet Secretary, and that is Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, shall submit to Parliament every 4 months a report of all loans made to national government entities, and county governments in accordance with Article 211(2) of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, you will note that the report that is being discussed this afternoon has a lot of loans that have been contracted by the national government. And those loans are not all the loans. Mr. Speaker, sir, you will note that the loans being discussed are only those that are foreign in nature. There are no domestic loans that are being shown in this report. So I will urge the committee, in line with Section 31.1 of the PFM Act, to demand the Cabinet Secretary to report all loans, including the domestic loans, that this government or this country takes. You will note that, Mr. Speaker, that the budget we have just passed had a fiscal deficit of 861 billion shillings, which is the amount that we will borrow this year. And to reiterate what the leader of majority has said, we are not borrowing 4.3 trillion, we are only borrowing 861 billion. Half of that will be external borrowing, and slightly over half of that will be domestic borrowing, which is about 449. So this House, as the law demands, will want a report of the domestic borrowing in addition to the one that we are discussing. Mr. Speaker, you will note that Section 31.1 also talks about borrowings by national government entities, and county governments. I know that constitutionally there is a separation between the Senate and the National Assembly. But this report, Section 31.1, says that the Cabinet Secretary must report these loans. So in addition to the loans, both foreign and domestic, I hope that the next time we are discussing loans and a report of this committee, we will also see borrowings by county government. Mr. Speaker, borrowings or public finance is underpinned by Article 201 of the Constitution. I want to remind my colleagues and members of this House that this article talks about that burdens and benefits and the use of resource must be shared between this generation and future generation. These loans, as they come, the report also must include an intergenerational equity. We don't want to burden our grandchildren with debt that they have not taken, and we don't also want to take the burden of our grandchildren and pay for debts that should be for later generations. Article 201 also talks about equity, geographical equity. This report, or the next report that will come to this House, must also show that the loans that have been taken are also, there is an equity as far as geographical distribution of those loans are concerned. We will not want to see Kenyans paying for loans only going for development of certain parts of Kenya. It must be, if we are sharing the burden of paying for the loan, we must also share the benefits of those loans. Therefore, in the next report, I will hope that the committee for which I'm a member of will have both the intergenerational equity report and the geographical equity report. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the report, you will see that submissions by the Controller of Budget, paragraph 6.3, that some of the loans that some of the state-owned agencies, semi-autonomous state-owned agencies take are being signed for by the national government. The committee has noted that that is not something that the national government should be doing, According to our constitution, the national government should only guarantee loans for semi-autonomous institutions and not be the one signing the loans on behalf of those institutions. So this is something else that this committee will be looking out for and making sure that we are not burdened by loans for semi-autonomous government institutions that can pay those loans. A case in point is the guarantees that we are now paying for Kenya Airways. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are some loans which are signed for by the national government that this committee needs to be seized of, but are disbursed by county governments. In the next report, we will want those loans. One of them is like the World Bank loan that goes to my area by the name Kenya Development Response to Displaced Impact Project, K-Dr. DIP, that we appropriate here. The loans are taken, but they are done by the county. This committee also must be seized of those loans and must be able, when we are looking at the cost-benefit analysis of these projects, we must see even those loans that have been taken on behalf of county governments but are appropriated by this House. Mr. Speaker, other than those points, I would like to agree with all the observations and the recommendations by the committee, and we'll hope that in the next report it will be much more richer and informed by the observations made by our colleagues. I support, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Amina Mnazi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii niweze kuongelelea kuhusu hii ripoti ambayo imeweza kufikishwa kwetu na hii kamati ambayo tunaangalia masuala ya uchumi ya pesa zetu hapa ndani ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi kama kiongozi mchanga ambaye ni mara yangu ya kwanza kuja katika bunge la taifa, naweza nikasema ya kwamba mimi niko na wasiwasi mkubwa sana Mheshimiwa Spika kuhusu madeni ambayo sisi kama Wakenya tunajiweka hapo ndani. Mheshimiwa Spika, naona maisha yetu sisi kama Wakenya katika miaka 10 na 20 inayokuja yatakuwa ni magumu zaidi kulingana na zile pesa ambazo serikali yetu ya Kenya kila siku tunakwenda kuomba. Mheshimiwa Spika, uketi ukijua sisi Waswahili tunasema dawa ya deni ni kulipa. Na haya madeni yote ambao sisi tunachukua, dawa yake ni kwamba sisi kama Wakenya lazima tuweze kulipa. Na tusipolipa sisi, ina maana ni watoto wetu, kuna wajukuu wetu, vitukuu vyetu ndio ambao watakuja kuumia kwa kulipa madeni ambao dakika hii sisi kama Wakenya tunakwenda kuchukua. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeangalia hiyo ripoti vizuri na wanasema kati ya mwezi wa Mei mwaka 2022 na mwezi wa April mwaka wa 2023 kuna bilioni 213.24 zenye ambazo zimechukuliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima na sisi pia tueleze wakati wa serikali ya handshake kama hawa ndugu zetu wanavyosema, wakati kipindi hicho cha mwaka mmoja serikali ya handshake ilichukua bilioni 1.5 kumaanisha ya kwamba pesa ambazo sisi saizi ambazo tumekwenda kuomba Mheshimiwa Spika zimeweza kuongezeka zaidi ukiangalia serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ya sasa na ile serikali ya handshake, kuna tofauti kubwa ya pesa ambazo zimekwenda kuombwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi kama nchi ni lazima tuangalie kabla hatujakwenda kuomba pesa kule nje, pato letu la kitaifa liko vipi? Pato letu la kitaifa ni pesa ambazo zinaweza kustahamili na kuvumilia na kuangalia mikakati jinsi gani ambavyo hizi pesa zitalipwa, kwa sababu sisi kama serikali tunajua serikali iko na namna nyingi ya kuweza kupata pesa. Jambo la kwanza ni serikali iweze kuongeza ushuru, na huo ushuru ndo ni mambo ambayo sisi tumekataa kama watu wa Azimio. Tunasema kwamba hatutaki kuongezewa ushuru kwa sababu tayari bei ya maisha tayari iko juu. Pia vile vile sisi tunasema jambo la pili ambalo serikali inaweza kufanya ni kupunguza matumizi. Jambo la tatu ambalo serikali inaweza kufanya ili kuweza kupata pesa ni kuweza kuomba pesa. Sasa wao wanasema serikali ya Kenya Kwanza wakati wa handshake tayari kulikuwa kuna pesa ambazo ziliombwa. Cha kustajabisha dakika hii Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kama tumefungua milango ya watu kwenda kuomba kila mahali, kushoto, kulia, mbele na nyuma. Kila siku tunaona watu wanatoka hapa wanaenda nje kwenda kuomba na kuzidi kuleta mikopo na madeni kwetu sisi kama Wakenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mimi kama kiongozi hiyo inaniuma nikifikiria kuna watoto wangu na wajukuu wangu ambao watakuja kuteseka na yale madeni ambao sisi leo hii tunakwenda kuchukua. Mheshimiwa Spika, pale awali sisi kiwango cha juu kabisa ambayo sisi tunaita kwa kimombo the national debt ceiling ilikuwa ni trilioni 10. Saa hizi hiyo kiwango cha juu kabisa cha kuomba kimeweza kuondolewa. Na katika hiyo trilioni 10 sisi kama nchi saa hizi tuko na deni la trilioni 9.6. Iwapo hili jambo Mheshimiwa Spika, hichi kiwango cha juu kabisa kingekuwa hakijaondolewa, sisi kama Wakenya leo hii tungekuwa tumetahayari, kwa sababu tusingejua ni mahali gani ambapo tunakwenda kuzimbua pesa. Hii kiwango cha juu kabisa kimeshaondolewa, lakini hii mimi kwangu mimi ndio naona kuna athari kubwa zaidi, kwa sababu saa hizi kuna mambo ambayo hayaeleweki Mheshimiwa Spika. Tunapokopa hizi pesa Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi kama nchi ni lazima tujue ni jinsi gani ambavyo tunakwenda kuzilipa hizi pesa. Na hilo jambo ni lazima liwekwe wazi kwa Wakenya, tuelewe tunakwenda kukopa na ni jinsi gani ambavyo tunapanga mikakati gani kama nchi ya kuweza kulipa haya madeni. Mambo kama hayo Mheshimiwa Spika mimi sijaona. Kitu ambacho mimi naona ni watu kuamka na kwenda kukopa pasipo kufikiria zile njia ambazo sisi tutakwenda kuzilipia haya madeni. Mheshimiwa Spika, haya madeni pia hayana uwazi. Hayana uwazi kabisa Mheshimiwa Spika. Wakati wa kwenda kuchukua mikopo ni watu kidogo wanakwenda kuchukua mikopo. Lakini wakati wa kulipa tunatarajiwa sisi kama Wakenya, kila mtu, wazee kwa watoto, wanawake kwa wanaume, sote tuweze kulipa. Mheshimiwa Spika, hilo si jambo ambalo linanifurahisha mimi. Tunataka kuwe kuna uwazi. Ukimuuliza waziri wa fedha, unapitishwa stories za hapa na pale Mheshimiwa Spika, hatujaona agreements zenye ambazo tuko nazo sisi kama nchi na nchi zingine. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatujaona agreements ambazo ziko kati yetu sisi wa Kenya na wale wa Kenya wengine ambao wanatufadhili sisi. Vitu kama hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika ni lazima viwe viko wazi. Ndipo pale serikali ambayo iko mamlakani ikieleza kuna madeni, sisi kama Wakenya tu tunajua madeni ni gani na ni pesa ngapi ambao tunafaa tulipe kila mwezi ama kila mwaka. Mheshimiwa Spika, serikali yetu sasa ni lazima tuache kutegemea misaada ambayo inatoka nje. Hii misaada ambayo inatoka nje Mheshimiwa Spika ndio ambayo inatusukuma sisi kama nchi. Leo hii tunasikia ukitaka pesa kutoka nchi kadhaa ni lazima nchi yetu kama ya Kenya tupitishe sheria za ushoga na usagaji, wa kizungu ni LGBTQ. Kwa sababu sisi wenyewe tumekataa kujitegemea. Tunategemea watu ambao wanatoka nje. Na ndio maana tunapata na tunaweza kuwekewa sheria ngumu kama hizo. Na ndio maana tunapoteza nchi yetu kwa kuweka sheria na vitu ambavyo havieleweki Mheshimiwa Spika. Hapo zamani juzi na jana Mheshimiwa Spika, najua masuala ya utalii. Utalii ulikuwa unaleta pesa nyingi sana hapa Kenya. Saa hizi utalii wote umeondoka, watu wanaenda Tanzania, watu wanaenda Zanzibar, na sijasikia mikakati yoyote ambayo iko hapa ili kuweza kufufua utalii wetu. Saa hizi hatuna dola za kutosha, hatuna pesa za kigeni za kutosha. Tungeweka mikakati katika masuala ya utalii, angalau tungekuwa tuna afueni sisi kama watu wa Kenya. Matumizi ya pesa, kila siku tunadanganywa pesa zinakwenda kuchukuliwa kwa sababu ya kufanya miradi. Ukweli wa maneno ni kwamba matumizi ya pesa hapa Kenya ni mabaya Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna a lot of corruption hapa ndani ya Kenya. Zile pesa ambazo zinaenda kuomba yenyewe ni deni, na badala lifanyie jambo la muhimu watu waweze kuona hizo pesa zinamalizikia katika mifuko ya watu Mheshimiwa Spika. Hilo ni jambo lingine ambalo linanisikitisha sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Lengine Mheshimiwa Spika ni kwamba haya madeni ambao sisi tunakwenda kuchukua kama nchi, mapendekezo yangu mimi ni kwamba yaweze kupitishwa na bunge la kitaifa. Kwa sababu kama sisi tunaketi hapa na tukipanga masuala ya pesa zinavyo